You ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Frito says we're rolling. Kyle says let's do it. Welcome back, everyone, to Beach Access. I'm Travis Mawerder. This is my friend, your friend. He's everyone's friend. He is the amigo. But if you don't put that on his mailing address, it will get returned to you. This is Kyle Friend. We are here at the Beach Pro Tour Finals in Doha, Qatar. Top 10 teams in the world have made it here. It's a very poetic, symmetrical end to the season. This is where we began this Beach Pro Tour season in February with the Elite 16. It's where I had a minor heart attack. I had to commentate my team, Triborn and Came Shock, as they played Chase Budinger and Miles Evans in the Olympic race. And now we're back. I don't have to coach. I just get to hang out with my guys. I get to hang out with all you guys, and we just get to commentate on VB TV. Now, Doha, it's got a fascinating history in this sport, relatively new to the game. It hosted its first event, a 4-star, in 2018, and it has slowly just built its way into a power player. This is now the third straight Beach Pro Tour Finals, biggest prize purse of the whole season. And now, Kyle, I want to hand it to you to give us a briefer on the format. We don't see many events. We don't see any events outside the Beach Pro Tour Finals with just 10 teams.
Yeah, it's a little different format than you're used to seeing, whether it's a challenger, whether it's a Elite 16 event. The finals, the 10 best teams that we have in the world right now. 8 come in based off of initial ranking. Your best 8 finishes in the last 365 days, in addition to 2 teams per gender based off wildcard. That's based on your finishes, maybe some recency, how well you've been doing in some recent events, and just your overall success rate and what can you bring to the finals.
A little bit of sizzle.
A little bit of sizzle. A little bit of sizzle. So that's a little bit different than what we're normally seeing in Elite 16. No qualifier here. These teams made it in outright. And like Travis said, the biggest prize purse of the year, 150 grand for the first place teams.
That's US dollars.
US, thank you, for each gender. And then just briefly, let's talk about the format a little bit. So how it's gonna work is, like I said, 10 teams from each gender. 2 single round robin with groups of 5. So each team, will play everybody once in those round robins. 2 pool winners will make it automatically to the semis. 2 different pools, 1 pool winner per each pool. Teams that get second and third automatically through to the quarterfinals. And that's pretty much it. And then it's on from there, quarterfinals on.
And it's on from there. If you just got to break pool, and then anything can happen, as last year's winners, Kristen Nuss and Taryn Cloth, we'll touch on them in a bit. They barely broke pool last year, needed a lopsided win over Kachistam and Raisaskun just to break pool, ended up doing that, ended up winning it all.
Yes.
Now, we'll touch on the American women and their dominance in a second. Where I want to start, the last 3 Beach Pro Tour Finals have been won by who else? Scandinavia. Anders Mol and Christian Storm, they won in 2018. Then they won it again in 2021, and then it was Sweden who won it in 2023, David Amma and Jonathan Helvig. And so the last non-Scandinavian pair to win on the men's side was Alisson and Bruno in 2016, and that was in Toronto, Canada. And now in Doha, it's been Scandinavian dominance. I mean, everywhere has been Scandinavian dominance. There's just been one tournament this entire season that hasn't featured a Scandinavian team on the podium, and that was our last Elite 16 in Rio, where Anders and Christian were stunned by the Bello brothers, who we will talk about shortly, and David Amma and Jonathan Helvig were stunned by Martin's Plavins and Christian's Folkerats, as Plavins just completed his bucket list of knocking off Germany, Sweden, and Norway, knocked off Sweden and Norway in the same tournament. Now, Kyle, I'm curious, does that impact Sweden and Norway at all? And it could be a bad impact where if you're off the podium for the first time, losing kind of begets losing, or you lose, you learn some things, you come back and you have a little fire.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, a little double-edged sword. I think you lose, you're a little extra hungry coming to this event, coming to the finals, being like, okay, clearly we're playing our best. What areas do we need to fix coming up leading to the finals? And the other issue is, for some of these teams, it is late in the season. And so health management. We saw Sharif with his ankle taped in Rio. He's like, it's late in the season, the shoulder hurts, the ankle hurts.
So we're not machines.
We are not machines, as he said. And so I'm curious to see with those boys, and you just felt a little bit of fatigue from them in Rio. Just a lot of volleyball, a long season. When you have the Olympics, the Olympic qualification, it is draining. It's almost like you're playing double because of the amount of pressure, the amount of stress that you're going through in the Olympics. So I think it's going to be it's going to be tough for them. I think it's going to be motivating, though. At the end of the day, I think it's going to be motivating for them after losing to come back with a little fire, a little extra fire from them, which is probably not good for non-Scandinavian teams here. If you're not from Scandinavia, probably not a good thing.
You don't want to see an extra fired up Anders and Christian or Amon and Helvig, and I think we're going to see a very fired up Amon and Helvig. And this is also kind of a special place for Amon and Helvig, as this is their first medal. Cited their first medal, a bronze at the 2020 One Star back in the erstwhile Star system. And now they've won a Beach Pro Tour Finals here. And so Doha, special place for them. Special place also for the American women that we mentioned earlier. Yes. So the last 3 Beach Pro Tour Finals have been won by Scandinavia. On the men's side, the last 2 Beach Pro Tour Finals have been won by American women. In 2022, Kelly Chang and Sarah Hughes, still a new partnership. They won gold after dropping their first round of pool play. And then Kristen and Taryn, as I mentioned, barely break pool, end up winning it all. Kyle, we have a new American team in the mix. So Therese Cannon, Megan Kraft, by virtue of a medal in Stade, a medal in Vienna, a medal in Rio, they worked their way, bit of a shocker, into the field by points. Didn't even need a wild card. And so Therese and Meg making their debut in the Beach Pro Tour Finals, and we got Kristen and Taryn. Can the American women continue their run?
You know, you have to say that they are high favorites, at least TKN, because of their consistency. And yes, they haven't played as many events in this fall period as some of these teams. Mel and Brandy we haven't seen too often as well. And so will that be a factor in the performance? Absolutely. And then you look at Therese and Meg, who just been balling, like you said, three big medals, 3 Elite 16s. And when we saw them leaving Rio, they were just like, you know, maybe there's a chance we get into the finals, but we're not sure. And we're like, oh, you never know, you never know. And then seeing them the next day, they were just so fired up that they made it in. And it's a credit, because if they don't do well, if they don't get this medal in Rio, maybe they don't get this bid. And so it's so important to go out there and play. The storyline at the end of the day, go out there and grind, go out there and play and get the finishes. And Therese and Meg, just better and better and better. And that's bad for the rest of the field, because that's a team that's new, but they've gotten all these reps now in the fall as they come into the most important event of the year. And so TKN, returning champs, you know, gotta keep them high on your favorite list, and you just never, you never count them out.
Never counting them out. One of the most consistent teams in the world. But as you mentioned, Kyle, we haven't seen Kristen Taryn on the World Tour stage, on the Beach Pro Tour stage, since the Olympic Games. Also haven't seen Melissa Humana Paredes and Brandy Wilkerson, who we got to share a shuttle with. Just lovely people.
That's awesome.
But it's great to see them back on the Beach Pro Tour. You got a little bit of experience watching them at the AVP League.
Right.
It's a good way for them to stay fresh, in a very low impact way.
Correct.
For them to stay fresh. The AVP League, for those who don't know, it's just 3 sets to 15. You only play 1 match Saturday. You only play 1 match Sunday.
Light.
And then you're done. So I feel like for Kristen Taryn and Mel and Brandy, the AVP League was actually sort of the perfect way to stay in shape while also maintaining your body health coming into this.
It's so important, because they're not doing a ton of international travel. That's a huge burden on some of these athletes that gets overlooked, I think, when you see people on the sand. Oh, this should be healthy. They're here. Well, you didn't see. They just spent a month in Asia traveling around, washing their clothes in the tub. You know, those are the things you don't see. Shout out to Tom Hodges and Schubert showing that on their Instagram. But like you said, the league kept these teams touching the ball and in shape, because, as you know, after 1 week, you try to go past this Mikasa ball and you're going to get aces. You're going to have trouble. So it was good for them to stay in shape and touch the ball. Is it the same in the last month or two, the same competitive vibe and energy that you get from Elite 16? No, it's not quite the same.
Right.
Not quite the same. Not quite that long grinding tournament. Like you said, it's 1 match a day. It's different. So luckily for them, this is a lighter, where you're going to maybe play 2 matches a day and that's it. So it's nothing crazy. But I just give the edge to those teams who have been playing a little bit more here in the fall.
It's different. It's a different level of competition. Now, Mel and Brandy, it sounds crazy to say, required a wild card.
I know.
To be here.
Silver medalists.
And I do not envy the promoters who had to pick the wild cards, because Duda and Anna Patricia were not in on points. Mel and Brandy were not in on points. Kelly Chang, Sarah Hughes were not in on points. And so you had a lot of teams sort of backdoor their way in, because Nina Brunner, Tanya Huberly not playing, Zoe Vergier-Dupre and Esme Bobner not playing, Nook and Joanna also not playing, and then you have Barbara and Carol not playing. And so you had a lot of teams like a Therese and Meg did enough to put themselves into position to get that back door.
Yes.
But then you needed the wild card, which was between, and I don't know if Duda and Patricia were healthy enough to get a wild card anyway, but you had to pick between Kelly and Sarah, who were healthy, Mel and Brandy, and that choice alone, I don't envy.
Yes.
Mel and Brandy get one. I think it's a great pick. Not only are they tremendous on court as displayed by their resume this year, 3 silver medals, 1 at the Olympic Games, but also they bring the pizzazz and the viewership off the court, which is why I think our men's wild card went the way it did. First one went to the Czech Republic's David Schweiner and Andrej Perisic. We haven't seen them on a major stage since the Olympic Games. They took a 9th. They also played a 1-star at home in Brno. They won gold there. So we'll see them, the reigning world champs. I think a bit of a surprise wild card on that end. The other wild card, I was not surprised at all, go to the Bello brothers, Joaquim and Javi Bello.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about teams being hot and teams adding that flair and what they bring not only on the volleyball court but just all over, and it's the smile, it's the energy, it's the covering, the kings of cover as we've coined them.
Are they Spanish? Are they English? Nobody knows.
They have a little mix of both in their accents. But yeah, coming off a gold in Rio, coming off a bronze in Nivali just a weekend ago. And, you know, they're playing phenomenal volleyball. They have the hearts of all the fans that come out to watch them play. And there's something special about the way that they scrap, the way that they grind on the field that is, I don't know, entertaining and enthralling and just gets you so fired up to see them do well. And also Joaquim Bello, standing at 6'1", being one of the best blockers we have in the game right now, led the tournament in blocks in Rio, led the tournament in points in Rio. So yeah, I think they're playing pretty good.
Playing pretty good. You mentioned the blocking of Joaquim Bello, and so the nominations are in. Top 4 nominations are in for the player voted awards. Joaquim Bello has been nominated for Blocker of the Year. One of the top 4, and
awesome.
That's all peers.
Yes.
So that's only the players on the Beach Pro Tour, and he is also nominated for Most Improved. So Joaquim, Javi, really fun to watch. And we were talking about this, and we'll touch on it for a second, on the walk, our coffee walk this morning. How different are the Bello's lives if they lose their first round qualifier match, which, by the way they were playing in Rio, they shouldn't have won. It was sort of a race to the bottom between them and Kame Schock and James Shaw of the United States. They end up winning that first round qualifier match in 3, end up qualifying, end up winning the whole dang tournament.
My goodness.
And how different are their lives, Kyle, if that third set goes differently?
I mean, and they'll be the first to tell you that, we probably shouldn't have won that game.
Right.
They were down, and James made a couple hitting errors, and then next thing you know, they win, and they go on to win that event. And they're not going to be here in the finals. They're not having that confidence. They might be having to grind out in the 3 stops.
They're going to China. They're going to India. They're going to Philippines.
Oh my God, and that's a lot, and they're not here. And so, I don't know. It is crazy how one match, maybe just a couple points, can completely shift your season. That's exactly what we saw with the Bellos, and it just makes their storyline that much better. That's what the fans want to see.
That's why we play the game. And Tri talks about it all the time on Sandcast, where he says, if I could just take 4 points and tease them out throughout the season, how different would my life be? And the Bellos, you have a real life example of that, where you tease out a couple points, you win that first round of the qualifier in Rio.
Yes.
You end up winning gold, and now you're here in the finals with a shot to play for $150K.
My goodness. Huge money, life-changing stuff. It's really exciting.
Last wild card, we want to mention a really, really fun, very talented team from Italy. Valentina Gottardi, one of the biggest sensations on the Beach Pro Tour for a while, was playing with Marta Menegatti, made her Olympic debut this year, is now playing with Rekka Orsi-Toth. I'm biased because she's lefty, I'm lefty, love a good weird lefty. And Rekka, it's always tough stepping into those shoes, playing with a very talented player, sort of filling in the shoes of one of the best players to ever do it in Italy, and Marta Menegatti. And what do? Well, they go undefeated in pool play in their debut in Rio. And she's passed every test, and now they get the wild card in, and this is the big leagues now.
Yeah, she's made it to the big leagues, and I think it was a great experience for her to get those reps in Rio. And I'm excited to see the growth of Valentina now being the veteran on the team and being the lead, because I think it's going to help expedite her growth and maturity as a player. And I think it's going to take her to new levels that we haven't seen, I don't think, with many female athletes on the beach tour, because what Valentina can do on the sand, the way she approaches, how hard she hits, it's something different. It's something different. You need to go watch for yourself. Watch this weekend, see Valentina play if you haven't already. But I think Italy made the right choice with Rekka, and they're going to have a real test here in the finals, and we're excited to watch. And congratulations to them on getting the bid. It's a huge, like you said, one little match here, one little point here, and they're here in the finals.
Yep. Valentina does things that you simply can't teach.
No.
Where you look at it and you say, that's some God-given ability, and she has made the most of it. She's taken that gift and she has maximized and multiplied upon it. So credit to her. Excited to watch her this week.
Who was the female MVP, fantasy MVP of Rio?
Valentina Gottardi.
Valentina Gottardi, yeah. Just leading all the stats, just everything, just filling up all the buckets was Valentina.
All the buckets. Now, an individual who has filled up all the buckets throughout a legendary career. This is his last event on the Beach Pro Tour as a whole, Mr. Paolo Nikolai, four-time Olympian, Olympic silver medalist at the Rio Olympic Games. And beyond what he has done on the court, beyond the 4 Olympics, beyond that silver medal, beyond the 30 other medals, beyond the 154 events he has played on the Beach Pro Tour, what an outstanding man off the court. You talk to any player out here on the Beach Pro Tour, and they will say that Paolo Nikolai is one of the best men that you can just hang out in the cafe, get a drink with, eat some dinner with. Yeah. He's always up there when we do the player awards. I'll mention him again. Paolo Nikolai is always nominated for Sportsman of the Year, which is just who's the best guy, a best representative, an ambassador for the sport. And for years and years and years, Paolo Nikolai has been that guy.
Yeah, and what an example and what a career he's had. And it's crazy to think that he is going to retire because, in my opinion, if he was an available blocker, he'd be at the top of almost everyone's list right now. That's how good he is, how good him and Samuele have been when they're playing their best volleyball. They're one of the best teams in the world, but a new path has opened up for him and a new career as he'll be the technical director for the Italian men's beach volleyball team, where they have 4 athletes they're going to work with there, and Paolo will, I'm sure, do a phenomenal job leading them on the court and creating a culture there off the court, which has become, his aura, and he has his aura about him. I don't know if it's dad energy or if it's like loving, caring energy.
He's the uncle you go to talk to.
Yeah.
You need a heart-to-heart with a family member, you go to Paolo.
You go to Paolo, absolutely.
He's got that touch of gray, he's wise.
But yeah, we will miss him.
And this puts Sam Codafava, just as how Valentina Gottardi is the new face of Italian women's beach volleyball, well, her man's, Sam Codafava, after this event will become the new face of Italian men beach volleyball. And Nikolai is going to help oversee that. So Nikolai is very involved in the player development. Now, after this event will finish, so he will sort of head the player development in Italy. And I think as far as on-court talent goes, it's Sam Codafava who will be the face of the Italian Federation. I mean, you talk about power couples. Hot damn. Sam and Valentina.
Where can I buy stock in the Italian power couple ranking? I mean, I think Italy is in good hands for a very long time in both genders with Valentina and Samuele. I'm excited to see what they can do and what comes next for Italy.
So we have a couple more notes left on the card. Number 1 team in the world, Tina Gradina and Anastasia Samoilova. They are coming in as the top seed in the tournament. Tina coming off a little training camp on the east coast of the United States. Really cool opportunity for young high schooler Sarah Wood. Tina just needed an East Coast player to train with, and so she trained with a junior in high school, awesome. Sarah Wood, and pretty cool opportunity for Sarah. Cool for Tina, get some extra reps, and so they'll come in as the number 1 seed. And then my last note on the card goes to the home team. Sharif Yunus and Ahmed Tijan. We just saw Ahmed stretching right there, and I said, Ahmed, have you ever won gold here? And he said, no, not yet. And I think the key word is not yet.
Not
and I
yet.
said, I think it's time. He goes, it is my time.
Yes. I think they're playing phenomenal volleyball. They got a second in João Pessoa. Prior to that event, it had been 504 days since their last medal before João Pessoa. So a bit of a drought for them, but they came back. They played phenomenal. They played gritty. They won over the Brazilian home crowd. They're definitely going to obviously win over the crowd here in Doha. And they have to be one of the favorites to podium, in my opinion, just of how well they've been playing recently. So I'm excited to see them do well and, rooting for them here in Doha.
Always a favorite to get on the podium. Always a favorite to at least play some very entertaining beach volleyball.
Oh, yes.
There's no doubt about that. Now, last thing we always like to end on, a little conditions report. So when I played in Doha, it was not at the Aspire Park, which, quick shout out to Aspire. This place is awesome. I went to the Aspire Dome, got a little workout in. Gym is fantastic. Lake is beautiful. It's a really nice place to walk around. I highly encourage anyone to come out here. It's a really fun place to just hang out. Now, Kyle, you have played here.
Yes.
And so give the people a rundown of wind, sand, heat, whatever it may be that could impact what we're watching.
So I think one of the unique things about Doha is the wind. And right now it is a little gusty right now. And so you can see this sand kind of coming off as I pull it down there. So it's going to be a challenge for some of these teams to manage. And everyone is used to playing with a little bit of wind. Is it going to be super windy? It's possible. We're kind of in a desert climate over here in Doha. And so we might get a little bit of wind, which will maybe, in my opinion, level the playing field. When you have all that wind, you can't just run your perfect up and down play. You can't jump set consistently unless you're Sweden, which you can anywhere. So a little bit of windy, that's going to be a problem. The sand depth here, I think it's average to medium. You know, I think we talk about Espino and Hermosa being the deepest. We talked maybe Huntington Beach being more on the shallow side, fairly jumpy. You didn't play in High Cow. High Cow is very shallow. I don't think this is High Cow level, so I think it's just a step up. I think this court 1 is not as deep as center court. I think center court just a little bit deeper. So medium depth in general, medium to shallow, if we will, on the court depth. And the climate, it's warm during the day. So will the heat play a factor? I don't think it's Brazil warm during the day, but it's warm. I think the Swedish boys, as remember we talked to them after the match and they were like, put us in the cold. We're dying, we're dying. So they'll definitely be happy that it's a little bit cooler here. And at night it's brisk, it's lovely here at night. And so
it's perfect.
It's good.
I think weather-wise, it's perfect beach volleyball conditions.
Yes, it's good conditions.
And when we say medium depth sand to shallow, it means that you're generally going to move faster, so defenders are going to be able to move faster. I wouldn't expect to see as many shots go down. The shallower the beach, the more physical the game gets. So bigger serves, bigger swings, you can swing from further off the net, and so I think that we're going to see a little bit higher physicality here than we did at a couple previous stops. So this is more jumpy than usual.
Yep, I agree.
So that's everything that we have that you need to know for the Doha Beach Pro Tour Finals. But any other questions, just drop them in the comments. We will be starting commentating on, tournament starts Wednesday. And matches are 1 p.m. local through the night. And so hang out with us on VBTV. We'll keep the content coming. Shout out as always to our guy, Daniel Freitas, Frito, La Machina. You're not the Translito in Doha, buddy, but so La Machina we'll have to do. We'll be hanging out with you guys all week long from Doha, Qatar.
Later.